Now, this is really important. That field of toxicity, that field of hurt, that old pain, that old anger, that old frustration from all the things that you've experienced in a human life that hurt you. It's invisible. And yet the people around you are feeling it. It's creating self-sabotage because your psychology is saying go out and be legendary, and yet this invisible field of hurt is saying I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm not enough. There's all this self-hatred. And so this is the missing link to personal transformation, because we get it intellectually in terms of our mindset. We know what we need to do to be exponentially creative, productive, elite performers, to have lives full of prosperity, but we get it in the head and we miss it in the heart because society does not teach us how to purify our heart sets. And so what I wanted to do, and let me just quickly say, the third interior empire is your health set. And of course that's important because energy and vitality is necessary for world class heart set. So I want to offer you a primary principle to start the work or continue the work if you're already doing it on your heart set. And this has helped me tremendously. It's helped me shift from being a machine in the world, endlessly creative, endlessly productive, endlessly focusing on my high value targets, endlessly achieving, to being much more of a human being. Someone who sees his work as his craft, someone who sees himself much more of an artist than an exponential producer, someone who understands that real creativity, real productivity, living a real life is a series of seasons. I was running on the treadmill the other day and I was looking out at a forest and I thought, the trees do not resist the seasons. The trees do not tell you, oh, it's winter time. I don't like this. I need to be in the summer. The trees just roll with what is. And what I'm suggesting to you is as you start to purify your heart set, you become much braver in terms of feeling the cycles of creativity and the natural order of life.
Conditions for what you want to achieve. You want to build a big life. You want to build, a big business. You want to become more physically fit. You want to build better relationships. You're here to learn how to be better. And to be better, you have to first realize something that is paramount to long-term success in life. And it's this: conditions will never be perfect, ever. Okay. And a lot of people, me included, for a long time, sat around and waited for the stars to align or the sea to part or for everything to be perfect for me to just go. And if it wasn't perfect, I'd come up with a justification, right? For example, I'm using my fitness as an example for you guys. When I was 350 pounds and completely unhealthy, not training, not doing my workouts, I would, tell myself, I'd look outside and I'd see, that it wasn't, 70 degrees and sunny. And I would come up with this little story about how it's cold and I'll start tomorrow. Or if it was raining, dude, you know what? I'll just do some sit-ups and push-ups, knowing damn well that the sit-ups and push-ups isn't what the fuck I needed to do. I needed to get my fat ass out on the road and fucking move, okay? What I'm talking about here is justifying our lack of action based upon the external circumstances. And this is something that every single one of you listening, if you understand and if you accept and just say, this is the way it is, your life will get exponentially easier for you to win. All right. So you have to understand that when you look outside or you look at whatever it is with your business or you look at whatever it is with your relationship, whatever these things are that you're trying to do, there are going to be wave after wave after wave after wave of inconvenient shit that hits you in the motherfucking face. All right. That doesn't matter. People who win win regardless of those waves. It's not that they don't have those waves. It's that they say, hey, I can't control what the fuck is going on. All I control is what I decide in my mind and the actions I take. Some days are going to be harder than others. Some days are going to be a little easier than others. But I can promise you one fucking thing for sure. There will never, ever, ever be a day that goes exactly as you want it to go. It doesn't exist. So with that being said, if you're going to wait around for perfect circumstances, how can you ever accomplish anything?
See, in life, there are always two voices vying for your attention, the voice of faith and the voice of defeat. You'll hear a voice saying, like I did, problem's too big. It's not going to work out. Just accept it. You'll be tempted to worry, to be negative, to complain. But if you listen carefully, you'll hear another voice, the voice of faith, saying God has a way. Favor is coming. Healing is coming. Breakthroughs are coming. One voice will tell you, you've reached your limits. You've gone as far as you can. You don't have what it takes. The other voice, you are well able. You can do all things through Christ. Your best days are still in front of you. Now here's the beauty. You get to choose which voice comes to life. The way you do it is by what you speak. When you verbalize that thought, you're giving it the right to come to pass. If you go around saying, the problem's too big, I'll never get well, you are agreeing with the wrong voice. You've got to get in agreement with God. The other voice may seem louder, but you can override it. You can take away all of its power by choosing the voice of faith. Maybe you're going to a job interview. One voice will tell you, you're not going to get it. You're wasting your time. These people are not going to like you. Another voice will say, you have the favor of God. You're blessed. You're confident. You have what it takes. But if you get up that morning and tell your spouse, I don't think I'm going to get this job. They're not going to like me. I'm not qualified. There's no use even going. You're being trapped by your words. You have to dig your heels in and say, I am not giving life to any more defeat. I am not speaking lack. I'm not speaking sickness. I'm not speaking mediocrity, not enough. I'm going to choose the voice of faith. It says I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm blessed, I'm favored. I am a victor, not a victim. This is what David did. When he faced Goliath, it looked impossible. All the odds were against him. If he would have verbalized his negative thoughts, that would have kept him from his destiny. Even though he was anointed to be king, those negative words would have kept him trapped in the shepherd's fields. He could have easily gone around saying, well, I know I'm supposed to face Goliath, but look at him. He's twice my size. He's got more experience, more equipment, more talent. I don't see how this is ever going to work out. You can talk yourself out of your destiny. Negative words can keep you from becoming who you were created to be. Don't fall into that trap. Quit calling in defeat. Quit talking about how it's not going to happen. You can pray in faith. Ask God to turn it around, to do the impossible.
Why do we care so much about people who don't care about us? That won't be there in the hard times, that won't be there when you hit rock bottom, that won't be there in your struggle, that never call you and ask you how you doing, that never call you and see how your day is going. Why do we care about what they think?
Character is that way. That's why a person with character does not live on what's popular. They live on what is principle.
The company you keep tells a whole lot about you. Someone say out loud, check your circle. See, the people around us, I don't care what your job is, I don't care how strong you are, I don't care how far down the road of life, the people around you, the more time you spend with them, I don't care who you are, you're going to become like them.
People who are not your children, you are under no obligation to help people. You're not responsible for another adult's happiness, well-being, or welfare. You're not responsible for that, nor should you make yourself responsible for another person. Take that pressure off you.
Take a look at the people that are around you, and if they're not on the side of what's good for you, then walk away.
That sometimes when you give from your heart, you are empowering people. And when you empower the wrong one who has malicious intent, they got their hand out because they have no power. They're weak, they're broke, they're struggling. Something is going on. And you reach your hand out to them. You let them move into your home. You let them borrow money. You let them use your car. So therefore you are empowering them. They take your hand, and as soon as they get off the ground, that hand becomes a fist, and they proceed to knock you out.
If you've got somebody that's dragging, that's going down in a downward spiral, and you decide that you're just going to pour everything into them, well, then you're going to go down that downward spiral as well. And now you're not going to be able to help them. Oftentimes when you think you're helping someone, you're really just enabling them. You got to detach. You got to make sure you're not becoming emotional. You got to make sure that you're seeing the person and the situation for what it really is. Not what you want it to be, but what it really is, who they really are, what they are really doing.
Experience is your highest truth, and I don't want you to ignore the truth. I don't want you to disown the experience. There was an open hand from your heart to help somebody get on their feet. And once you took their hand, they took that same hand that you helped them get up with, turned it into a fist, and tried to figure out a way to knock you out.
Do you notice that 95% of all your voicemails are a request? Don't you become the 911 in everybody's life. Just stop. Release yourself from the pressure. Now her number, I would just block her number. I just learned how to block numbers. Did you all know that? It's the greatest, oh my God. That's what I gave myself for Christmas. My life's so good right now.
Some of y'all right now are in relationships and friendships that you are clearly being used and taken advantage of. They're jealous of who you are and all the things you have, and yet they're using you for these various things. Pay attention to people and who they really are. Don't manipulate your mind to thinking, you know what, maybe I'm just being a negative person. There's this thing called instincts, intuition, and discernment. Pay attention to them. Don't disown them, because you will end up in pain in the end.
Here's how you know if someone's your friend. You can tell them bad news, and they'll listen. They won't tell you why, you're stupid and why that bad thing happened to you and how something worse happened to them once and, derail the whole conversation. You can tell them good news, and they'll help you celebrate. And that's a really good way of deciding who you should have around you.
We've all been used, we've all been taken advantage of. It doesn't feel good. And when you get used and taken advantage of or manipulated, you're doing everything and operating and coming from your heart. But unfortunately, other people have malicious, evil, and vindictive intentions towards you. And all you have to do is forgive those, but more importantly, learn from it.
You find yourself in success. You lose yourself in significance. It's when we begin to add value to others that we begin to lose ourselves, because now the cause is greater. Our why, our purpose, our why is bigger than us. When you find your why, you'll find your way. Everything changes at that time.
Because once you find that, it puts you in your power place. See, if you know what your life work is, I encourage you to start working on it. And if you don't know what it is that you showed up to do, I encourage you to find out what your purpose is here. What is the meaning of your life? What will be different? Have you ever asked yourself that question?
One of the great distractions of chasing our dreams is this thing that goes off in our head as we're negotiating the price we're paying. Should I keep paying it? Is it getting too high? Is it too much? And you'll have people in your ear, it's too big a sacrifice. You're going through too much. And you begin to negotiate it in your mind. It distracts all your focus. You can't be executing and negotiating simultaneously.
You have to have 7 straight days of being absolutely positive. Not one negative thought, not one negative expression that you hold on to. And you know what? After you go about 4, 5, 6 days in a row doing really well, something major negative is going to happen. How's that for some positive programming? But what it is a test to see how committed you really are.
If you're in your head negotiating and negotiating and negotiating, you can't execute. So negotiate it now. Negotiate it with me now. What are you willing to pay? For me, when I'm after something big, as long as it's legal, ethical, and moral, I'll sacrifice everything else. But I will not sacrifice anything legal, anything unethical, or anything immoral.
A person without character will say one thing, do another, and promise something else. So you never know who you're talking to when you're talking to them. No character.
We should not fear failure, for example. Anyone can fail, and virtually everyone does at one time or another. But if we should not fear failure per se, we should fear failure to do our best.
We're to find ourselves, isn't it interesting, to lose ourselves. And we lose ourselves when our purpose becomes bigger than us. To find a purpose, how important. But then to take that purpose and place it in a position that has eternal factors involved is to lose yourself and to go to another whole level of life and another level of living.
It's here that wisdom provides very real, very practical benefits. It's wisdom that provides a sense of life's value and assurance that all the effort has been worthwhile. There's no question that we must take care of our material needs, but a fulfilled life requires meaning as well as substance.
Unfortunately, many people reject what God made them to be. And they spend their entire lives trying to be something they're not. And then they wonder why they're so unhappy and so unfulfilled. You were made to be you, not anybody else. And if you try to be somebody else that you're not shaped to be, you're going to be miserable.
People don't do what they know in life, but what they do is they operate within the context of the vision they have of themselves. How to begin to get a larger vision of yourself and how to begin to make this your decade. Because in order to do that, it's going to be very challenging. It's going to require that you begin to see yourself worthy of the requirements in terms of effort, in terms of commitment, in terms of action, or whatever it is that you need to do in order to take your life where you want to take it.
Of course, the reality isn't quite that simple. But it's not as simple either as thinking that just because you're older, things are now going in the opposite direction. And that while you used to want to do everything, you should now want to do nothing. No, reality is by no means that simple either.
Do not cast pearls before swine. A very, very harsh statement, right? But what it means is, if you're offering words of wisdom to someone in the genuine attempt to help, and they treat that with contempt, then shut up. You're demeaning your words by throwing them away.
And that we should refuse to accept. You're never just a victim of circumstances. No matter what happens, you're never without options that can get you back on track. It takes courage to recognize that, but I would suggest that we should accept that responsibility because no one is really going to accept it for us.
I wanted everybody to like me. I wanted to be perfect the first time I did something. It's not going to happen. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to hurt some folks' feelings. You're going to create some enemies. Whenever you decide that you want to begin to take life on, you've got to ask yourself, how long am I going to allow this to hold me back?
It's about treating people the way you would want to be treated and doing the tasks that you don't necessarily want to do, but that you know will help you. It's about facing your fears so you can conquer them.
You're so consumed with everything that's going on in the world, this is the reasons you haven't figured out your own life yet. Every website, every tweet, every Instagram post, with everything that's going on in the world, you're ignoring your own world. You can never shine trying to sit on someone else's sun. You can never figure out who you are if you're consumed in everything that everybody else is and what they're doing and the moves that they're making.
Can you get laser obsessively focused almost to its exclusivity, almost, but for an extended period of time towards something you want so badly, you want it like oxygen. It's like you want it like you want to eat. You want it like you want to live, right? Are you extendedly laser focused on it, or do you get distracted easily?
Because you've been through some stuff, and you can help them, give them advice, give them insight over things that they may be struggling with. This is what the love circle is. We spread love. When people write comments and tell their stories, respond to 10 people without you knowing you have signed up to be a part of the love circle. I love you. Tag whoever needs to see this video and make sure you share it.
You're gonna face pressure, you're gonna face storms, you're gonna face suffering. Live in harmony with each other. But it's a lot of other parts coming together in harmony. It's a picture of what it looks like in our faith to walk with one another.
It's not what you do for a living. It ain't how much you make. It ain't none of that. It's simply how you think. If you change your thought, you change everything. You change your attitude, you change your altitude. It's all that. It's the law of attraction. Your attitude is everything. That's what it, money ain't everything, but it's very helpful. It ain't everything, but it's a lot.
A seed is a tree, but it must become the tree. And that's the way you are right now. You are a great woman, an awesome man, but you must become. It is my passion, my hope, my anchor, that no human being die until they are manifested. Let's meet you before you go. Let the world see who you really are before you leave us. Show us yourself. Show yourself.
What is your ultimate destiny and your goals? God will never give you something somebody else is supposed to have. So all while you're consumed and focused on somebody else's career, how much they got in their account, their moves, their blessings, and their opportunities, your own career, your own focus, your own path is being further dumped in the back seat. God didn't bring you in this world to be focused on what everybody else is doing.
You have a choice. Your mind has to listen to you. Part of your will is to bring your mind into order. Now, the reason why most people are ineffective in life and actually fail at life is because they've never learned how to fight the battle of the mind.
Happiness is both a grasp of the obvious as well as an awe of the mysterious. But for most people around us, happiness seems to be either something left behind or something yet to be discovered. Like all the good things in life, happiness is elusive by nature, but not impossible to capture. If there is a magic word that stands out above all the rest, this is the one: discipline.
A lack of self-discipline is a lack of knowing what you want in life. And when you don't know what you want, you won't have any self-discipline power to get there. Self-discipline makes consistency possible, and consistency compounds. It always has, and it always will.
In difficult times, it's tempting to get sour. Joel, I was doing the right thing. Had this bad break. This setback came out of nowhere. Put your foot down and say, I refuse to go through life with a bad attitude. I am not going to let what happened to me, who did me wrong, what I didn't get, keep me from becoming all I was created to be. Too often, we're holding on to the hurts, disappointments, the things we don't understand. That poisons our attitude. You have to let it go. This is a new day.
There are a lot of people that don't understand the power of laughter and the power of being joyful and deliberately feeling good. Does it mean that I don't have any challenges? Yes, I do. Stuff's happened to people that I care about.
We're so tempted to run somebody else's race. We're so tempted to do it like somebody else did it, but you don't get grace for somebody else's call. The older I get, the more and more I am convinced that people are borderline obsessed with what's next. And don't get me wrong, I think it's important that you have a vision for your life, and I think it's important that you have an idea of where you're headed, but if you're not careful, you'll get so obsessed with what's next that you'll miss out on what is right now. It doesn't take a lot of us to realize, like, if you're graduating from high school right now, everyone's going, where are you going to college? If you're in college, everyone's like, where are you going to work? I'm like, when are you going to shut up?
Have you ever noticed how the way we explain something after the event has transpired is often much different than how we experienced it? We say after we've experienced something that, well, it all turned out for the good, but you weren't so sure about that during the divorce. But now after the divorce, you can say, okay, well, I didn't want the divorce, and I'm not saying the divorce was God's will, but I can see how God's even using that now in my life. But when you're going through it, it feels like death, and you can't even see any life after this.
We have to take control of our thoughts. We have to scratch the negative ones when they come in and replace them with great ones. Now, I don't believe self-talk works all the time, but I believe saying, I am strong, I am good, I intend, I'm a good man, my intentions are pure, I make a difference in the world, I'm kind, I'm gentle, I'm generous. Beginning to repeat these thoughts to myself, and these words do generate self-confidence. I keep the promises I make to myself. I'm a man of my word.
Many of us choose an active living death. Many of us are walking dead, that we're not doing what we want to do. Many of us stay in relationships where we're dying together rather than growing and expanding and living together. We're miserable, but because we don't have the courage to see ourselves beyond that relationship that has turned toxic, we go through life living dead people.
I know it's easy to get glued to the internet, glued to social media, get glued to the TV, but if you fill your mind with constant images of negative news, and they're just saying the same thing over and over, it's going to deplete your reserves, it's going to raise your stress level.
When you decide, I have had enough, a leader is about to be born. Toleration is the graveyard of leaders. And that's why we lack leadership in the 21st century. Everybody wants to be liked. Nobody wants to rock the boat. And that's why we're not leaders, because we want everyone to agree with us.
Before you're going to have peace, you're going to have to make some decisions about some things. And the first decision you have to make is, I am unwilling to live without peace. I will not live without peace. You see, I spent way too much of my life in turmoil. And maybe 15 years ago, I made a decision that I was going to have peace, and I was going to have joy, and I was going to have righteousness. That I was not going to spend the rest of my life feeling guilty every time I made some little minor mistake.
I want you to honor both yourself, and I want you to honor her, and I want you to just keep going. If what you actually need is to pause and to just take a break from school for a little bit so you can take care of yourself, that's very different than quitting. That's giving yourself what you need while being responsible for this dream that you better not give up on.
Begin to talk to yourself and think these thoughts. When you combine your brain and your body, you scratch the self-doubt. You lose those 4 stupid beliefs. I am my accomplishments. I am my possessions. I am what other people say I am, or I am what I look like. These are completely flawed beliefs. We scratch those. We scratch them. We understand the process of stacking self-confidence in our life. We know we are the content of our character.
It's not that easy as dropping out of law school. You've always wanted this. You've always worked for this. You've dreamt about this forever. And it's not going to leave you. That's why we say your dreams are kind of in the back of your mind. So you don't have a choice about this. So you got to take care of the fact that you're grieving, and that's like riding waves of emotion.
I'm more creative today than I would have been if I'd have had those files. I test more than I would have been, because what? That was a crutch to me. I was holding on to what I knew instead of letting go so I could grab hold of what I could become. So that's a huge word right now. Just be testing. It's going to make you the person you need to be during this time. You know, testing says that there's a better way, and failing says, I haven't found that way. Failing tells you that, you know, I haven't found that way, but it also tells you getting closer to find that way.
That storm that you're in, it seems like that storm is enveloping the whole world. Hard to see out of that storm. It's hard to see past it. It seems like the storm is everything. You can get out of the storm, and you will get out of the storm. But right now, you're being tried. You're being forged. You're being tested by fire and by pain. Don't fail the test.
Now listen to me. I don't care if you're sick. I don't care what you're going through. If you're not dead, he ain't through with you yet. As long as you waking up, you still in the game. You can still make it happen. As long as that breath in your nostrils boo, you still in the game. You still can win. Now get your butt up.
You need to change your mind, because some of you are thinking about giving up because you're in a season of failure. But just because you failed doesn't mean that God doesn't have a bright future in store for you. It is always too soon to quit.
This is not the time to throw in the towel. This is not the time to give up. It's the time to trust God more, to dig in deeper.
The joy is not in the success. The joy is in trying. The joy is in the process. That I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep going at it. See, failure is forming my future. Failure is just another peg in the ladder for me to go higher. I don't want to just know how to make it work. I want to know why it doesn't work. And the only way I can find that out is I got to fall on my face. But guess what? The righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets back up.
And if God be for us, who can be against us? There's nothing in this world that can defeat us if God is for us. It is impossible to have victory and think bondage. It's impossible to be happy and think sadness and depression.
And if you're not careful, you will allow situations in this life to cloud your perspective. And you will allow moments in this life to take away the hopes and the dreams of tomorrow. Failure, it's not final, it's formative. It's part of the journey. How are you going to learn if you don't ever fail? Failure is fuel for your future. Failure is a part of your story. The only time you fail is the last time you try. You need to get the right perspective on it, because this failure, it will not end in death, but this failure is a part of you being formed.
I'm telling you, it's possible to be weak. It's possible to feel overwhelmed, outnumbered, out-resourced. It's possible to feel discouraged. It's possible to be going through something that you've never gone through. And if you were to be honest, would say, I am weak this day, yet I'm still anointed king.
I want to encourage somebody out there who's thinking about quitting and giving up. Somebody who has been praying for years for things to turn around. You're thinking about quitting. You're thinking about getting up. You are caving in. This is for you.
When I'm discouraged, I need somebody to come alongside me to encourage me that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. That kind of talk wakes up my faith. It stirs my faith to know that no matter how dark my situation, God can work it out.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Stay in it. Stay focused.
The biggest single obstacle standing in your way to success is not lack of education. It's not lack of background. It's not lack of money. It's lack of belief in yourself. I believe the most important thing to winning is you. It's what kind of person you are, what kind of husband you are, what kind of wife you are, what kind of dad you are, what kind of mom you are, what kind of example you are. See, folks, you are it. You are everything. The most important thing to winning it is your attitude about you. It's your attitude about life. Positive thinkers win and negative thinkers lose. Whatever you expect to happen with confidence happens.
The fundamental key to success is what you believe is true for yourself. Not what you want, not what you desire. It's what do you believe?
The first thing you've got to do to get what you want is believe that you can. Believe it's possible for you to have it. And if there's someone out there that has done it, why the f*** ain't it possible for you? We are all born with the same amount of time in a day. And anything that they can do, you can do too.
People always say, you gotta love the work. You gotta love what you do. You don't have to love what you do. You gotta get addicted to what you do. You gotta be addicted to winning.
You gotta cross the line in life. If you really want to make it and you ain't got a bunch of money and you're not born rich, you gotta cross the line. You gotta go where nobody else wants to go. You gotta work the hours nobody else wants the hours. You gotta put in 18-hour days sometimes. You gotta go further than the average guy next to you.
When I was poor, everywhere I went, flip the price tag on. What's it cost? What's it cost? What's it cost? What's it cost? I was constantly negotiating the price for everything in my life. You do that when you come from a place of scarcity, of being poor.
And as Martin Luther King said, take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. You've just got to believe that you can learn.
How many of us can possess the ego attitude? What makes an ego so magnificent? Is it the courage? Is it the demeanor? Is it the strength? Is it the willpower?
He told the guy, he said, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful.
Successful people and wealthy people have a subtle distinction. They don't look at price, they look at worth. Is this worth it? If you're constantly looking at the price tag, you'll eventually relent. You'll eventually give in. Stop negotiating the price. It's a freeing experience to totally commit. When you totally commit to a relationship, to a business, to your fitness, to your faith, it's a freeing, powerful, it's almost like removing kryptonite from your life when you totally commit. Can you do that? The people around you always say, it's costing too much. It's costing too much. And you go, maybe it's costing too much. You gotta start going, no, it's worth it. It's not the price, it's the worth. It's a subtle distinction in your life. Are you with me on that?
So identity is the governor on our lives. It's the invisible force that no one understands. And once they do understand and get a hold of it, their life can change. So not only if you don't get a hold of this, will these outward conditions of your life keep being exactly the same, but you could behave differently. You could do all the working out. You could be thinking great thoughts, but you are going to get out of your life.
You don't have to believe that you're already capable of doing what you want. You don't have to believe that you can already build that thing that you dream. You don't have to believe that you already are extraordinary. You simply have to believe that if you take that first step, you put yourself on a journey not of execution. You put yourself on a journey of learning so that you can execute. And that, when you understand that difference, that's when you really will be on that path to greatness. And that is the thing that I want for everybody listening to this. Please understand, the only thing you need to know is that you have to take the first step. Whatever the vision is that you have for your life, you absolutely can make it come true. And the process is very simple. The process is about learning. The process is about growing and getting better. It's about recognizing what you're not good at. It's about recognizing what you have to learn. It's about taking that first step on faith.
You're going to be the most powerful force in the world, I think, is to be consistent with the concepts, ideas, and worth that you hold for yourself. You will get that out of your life. what you will tolerate. Okay, the deeper part of that is identity. And so identity is very much like a thermostat sitting on a wall, right? This is important. Once that temperature is set at a certain degree, everything in the world externally can hit it, and you will find a way to get that temperature. So even in this house, let's say it's set at 80 degrees. If we opened up all the doors and cold air, just the worst things in life, the blizzard of life came in, the thermostat will kick the heater on and it will regulate this room back to 80 degrees. The reverse is also true. It's a super hot day. Great things are happening in your life. It's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. If you're at 80 degrees, that internal thermostat will find a way over a window of time to cool your life right back down to 80 degrees again. So the key, the secret key, is to be able to shift that identity. 90, 100, 120. So some of the ways, strategies to do that are very simple. One is let's just say financially, you're a 200 degreer and I'm an 80 degreer. If I'm in your proximity over and over and over and over again, you will heat my identity up somewhere in between mine and yours to 150 degrees. Same in fitness, same in everything.
On faith that you can get better, not on faith that you're great. On faith that you can become the greatest of all time. And once you have that faith, once you know that simply being a human being puts you in this rare category of creature that can get better through pressure, through pain, through difficulty, through failure, those are the things that are going to be the building blocks of your success. But in order to begin on that road, in order to have your first glorious failure, you must first take that first step. So please, don't waste your time being motivated or inspired. Spend every second of your time moving forward. That's how you're going to get where you want to go.
As Daniel Pink said, people fail to achieve mastery not because they aren't talented, but because they aren't disciplined.
To be able to soar as high as we can, to be able to look down at all of the opportunities and being able to attack when they present themselves. To know that you can do the impossible, not just surviving, but living, knowing how to hunt, to be brave. You're not depending on anybody, but you're being independent, like the eagle. You got to get up. You got to fly. You got to soar. You got to be that eagle.
There are some things in life that you'll never experience, you'll never receive, that you will never obtain until you believe. Believe in you and believe in your dreams. So dream big and dream beyond your wildest imagination.
Number one, I want to make sure you catch it. Number one, you have to believe that it can be you, right? And I'm not talking to everybody in the room. Some of y'all, you got enough confidence for me and you. You're good. But somebody in the room, you don't have that type of confidence. I need to give me a quick favor. I need, for those of you who are like, E.T., tonight is my night. When I walk out of here, I'm going to be different. How many of you be honest in the room? Raise your hand. E.T., I'm going to be honest. When I hear no, sometimes it breaks my spirit. When my mom doesn't believe, when my dad doesn't believe, or my girlfriend doesn't believe, or my friends don't believe, or when they shut the door, they slam the door in my face without even giving me an opportunity. I'll be honest, E.T., sometimes when I walk away from that door, I get a little discouraged. Raise your hand for me, be honest. Raise your hand.
Just look at that eagle. It's truly magnificent. You never see an eagle complaining. You never see an eagle whining and worrying about how it's going to get its meal. I mean, let's just think about it. An eagle is flying, but an eagle must eat. It has to eat to survive or live. Well, let's think about that for a moment. Do you think what the eagle is hunting is going to just sit there and wait to be eaten? Because the thing about success, you got to work for it. It's not supposed to be given. It's not gonna just sit around. The eagle knows what it must do. Question is, do you know what you gotta do?
What I do is, unique in that I study people all the time because I know that I deal with salespeople or people who are in the sales industry. I'm constantly, studying that genre, if you will, regularly. I have a keen sense of awareness. And so I'm constantly asking myself questions in my mind. What would work? What work? What's going on in the economy? What's the climate? What's going on? What are people dealing with? So it's asking myself a bunch of questions. My mother is there. What are mothers going through with themselves? What is a father, who's trying to put in 60 hours a week, but at the same time, he's trying to have a healthy relationship, with his children, his family. What does he need to hear?
What you're gonna do is gonna take you to a whole level, because this company has some great stuff in store for you, but you cannot get it if somebody says no and you take no the wrong way. Listen to me. Every no you get, don't shun the no. Every no, you take the no. You take the no and you recycle it.